important person in the whole wide world is you, and you hardly even know you. The most important person in the whole wide world is...
Good afternoon from Nikki and from me from Castle Goring. Not complaining, another glorious afternoon. By the time this is aired, I will be downstairs, pretty much in the same glad rags, to meet and greet all of the Royal Volunteer Service people who have been gracious enough to come to a tea party that is being hosted downstairs. So it's going to be a really nice afternoon because the Royal Volunteer Service is thanking all of their volunteers who are able to come for all the sterling work they did during COVID. Isn't that wonderful? So I'm going to really be very happy to meet all those people. But in the meantime, let's plunge right in, eh, Mix? Mickey says, yes, Marty, we need to plunge in. Welsh Truth Dragon says, Harry made it a very, big block capitals, the very, clear that he was angry at the British public for mourning the death of his mother because we didn't know her. Question. Did Harry know even one person listed on his Archwell 9/11 list? Wealth Truth Dragon. Well, what can I tell you? You've hit the nail on the head. Hypocrisy is Harry's middle name. Inconsistency is his overriding failing. No, but you begin to see why it's always advisable to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Because Harry, when he remained relatively silent and wasn't regurgitating his guts on a daily basis for the delectation and entertainment and horror of all, was actually thought rather well of. Well, all he needed to do was come out with one or two confessions, such as he despised everybody who was mourning his mother because they didn't know her and it made him angry. And now he's using the deaths of those people at 9/11. But you see, you miss the point, Welsh Truth Dragon. The British people only had their heart to give. Harry's earning money. Do you see? That's why it's okay to trade on all those deaths. It's justifiable because he's earning money from the whole thing and he's selling the image of a compassionate and caring human being. I tell you, Susan 1962 says, those two had to take advantage of the tragic 9/11 to post the departed by name on their Sussex Royal. I don't think it's Sussex Royal, Susan 1962. I think, without being a scold, it's Archewell, or as it should be correctly pronounced, Archewell. To resume Susan 1962's question, they are not big block capitals, world leaders, and as Harry exclaimed that they, quote unquote, didn't even know my mother when people cried for her after her death, well, you did not know one of those departed, so stop using these commemorations for attention. Do I agree? Yes, I do agree. You don't see any of the other royals doing anything like this. You don't see any of the other royals anywhere in the world doing anything like this. Not one of them. But you have the attention grabbers. Give me attention, give me attention. Oh, by the way, speaking about that, Mickey, I forgot, come here. Come to Marty, come here. Come and show everybody. Come on, speaking about attention. Mickey, come on, come on, come on. Marty forgot to show everybody your beautiful, beautiful coordinating with me. Can you see Mickey's beautiful real pearl incidentally collar? It was made by a friend of mine some time ago called Sylvana Munson. In private life, she is Lady Munson. Well, and she makes a lot of jewelry, mostly stuff like pearls, and each piece is unique. And she made this and gave it to Mickey. Isn't it beautiful? It coordinates with her motto. Mickey, I want to be sure that everybody can see what Sylvana made for you. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, Nix, you can go back where you want and chill. Yes, you can. Sweetest girl in the world. You want to stay here for a second? Okay. Cindy B says, the Met Gala was last night. Well, obviously this is a few days old, this question. Guess who was not there? Cindy B? You have me stumped. Who wasn't there? Oh, let me think. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was there, making a total exhibition of herself. Yet another attractive physically, good personality, vibrant, charismatic left-winger. Like Meghan. Oh, Cindy B. I think I've alighted upon who wasn't there. Meghan wasn't there. Well, that means, of course, the whole occasion wasn't classy. If it was classy, Meghan would have been there. So it can't have been classy. Well, I actually don't think, in fact, that for all its glamour and all its attention grabbing, that I would actually have called it an occasion that has what used to be referred to as bon ton, good tone. It is a phantasmagoria of increasingly attention-seeking and attention-grabbing displays. I mean, Kim Kardashian in Balenciaga, don't die, Balenciaga. Gosh, how Cristobal Balenciaga must be rolling in his grave, spinning like a top. Completely in black, even her face covered. Well, I suppose maybe she's in favour of a progression from the burqa to the Kardashian, which will be every woman concealed from head to toe. How does that go when she displays everything on occasion? Then, of course, you had all sorts of other fashionable entities, some of which I have to tell you are a joke, and some of whom I've never heard of. But then I don't mix in that world, never really did, and never really will, because, you know, I was brought up to believe it's common and vulgar to buy publicity. And most of these people buy publicity. And I'll let you into a little secret as well. Sunshine Sachs is one of the PR companies that helps to place people. To my certain knowledge, I know that my ex-boyfriend David Koch, his wife Julia, was a Sunshine Sachs client, and that they got her made an, I think it's a vice chairman, or anyway, something like that, a number 2 position, not a number 1. Number 1, I think, is Anna Wintour. It used to be Diana Vreeland, and when Diana Vreeland did it, it really was fabulous. I'm not saying that a lot of it isn't imaginative, but it really does scrape the bottom of the barrel in terms of taste. Not in terms of inventiveness, but in terms of taste. And when they have a guest like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the drum beater for socialism, the congresswoman, who I have to say I think is an attractive looking person and has a charismatic personality, as I said a bit earlier. They have her as a guest, and she is wearing a white ball gown that would have cost tens of thousands of dollars. It's $35,000 a head for the event. And this great socialist is wearing a dress daubed on the back, "Tax the Rich." I ask you, these people obviously have no sense of irony, because what they do is so completely bizarre and hypocritical that, you know, you have to laugh. Belle C says, "I would love to hear your thoughts on the announcement that Muggle Markle sorry, and the Don't, that's the girl, have been named on the Times Magazine top 100 most influential people of 2021. Oh my goodness. It is amusing, isn't it? Oh no, sorry, she says here, insert eye roll. Well, I'm sorry, I don't know how to insert an eye roll, so I just read it out instead. I do love you guys. Honestly, who comes up with these lists? Did they pay Time Magazine to be placed on the list? And the photo, of course she is standing in front of him again, big block capitals, and him in the background looking meek and inferior to her, exclamation marks interspersed with question marks. Disgusting, if I say so myself. Thank you for all your videos and candor, Lady C. I always look forward to watching your videos. All the best, Belle. Well, shall I take the question in its parts? It is a joke. Harry and Meghan may be two of the most notorious and infamous and written about and commented upon people on earth, but they are certainly not one of the 100 most influential people in the world. It's a joke. Did they pay Time Magazine to be placed on the list? Well, I've mentioned this before, but I think it can be mentioned again. No, they pay Sunshine Sachs and their other PR people who have a working relationship with Time and the other magazines. You know, Time used to be a very respected and influential weekly when I was young. I mean, I have to tell you also, as an aside, my sister-in-law, Jeannie-Campbell, Lady Jean Campbell, was engaged to a nearly married Henry Luce, who was the founder and owner of Time Life. He owned both Time Magazine and Life Magazine at a time when they were huge, huge, huge deals. In those days, you didn't have 24/7 television, you didn't have the internet, you had Time Life. And they were absolutely the arbiters. Jeannie nearly married him. He was quite a bit older than she was, but she told me that she loved him and he loved her. But he was married at the time to Clare Booth Luce, who wrote The Women. The Women was a very famous play and a very famous movie in the 30s about a group of women in a ladies' room and in a club. And you should look at it. It's an old movie, but it's really well done. Clare Booth Luce was, I will use a characterization that is very apt. She was very beautiful, she was very intelligent, and she was utterly ruthless. And she had loads of enemies, one of whom was Dorothy Parker, the famous wit and member of the Algonquin Round Table. And they ended up together in front of a doorway. And Clare Booth Luce, who was well known to be a witch of the sort that begins with B, and was very witty, said to Dorothy Parker, "Age before beauty." Dorothy Parker swung through saying, "And pearls before swine." Clare Booth Luce, according to my sister-in-law Jeannie, was a real cow. And she and Henry Luce's marriage was over in all but name and had been for some time. And he and Jeannie fell in love and they wanted to get married. And she told Henry Luce, "If you divorce me, I am going to commit suicide and that will ruin you." So he and Jeannie broke up. In those days, not only did blackmail of that nature work in a way that it most likely wouldn't work today, because of course in those days publishers had to be seen to be, if not purer than the pure, certainly figures of some rectitude, which of course is no longer true. You only need to look at buccaneers like Rupert Murdoch to see that, you know, a dubious reputation is not a preventative to anything whatsoever. Time magazine is now a joke. It's a joke because of the internet. It's always out of date, which the internet has rendered it. I mean, a weekly? It's a joke. But they still have a name that they are trading upon. And they are really a cut above all of the other vanity magazines like Vanity Fair, Harper's Bazaar, that sort of thing. They have a symbiotic relationship with the PR companies, the PR companies place clients of theirs with the magazines, including Time magazine. But there is another reason why Harry and Meghan are on that cover. It is because they're controversial and they are good copy. They're good copy for the very reason that they are failing as a proper royal humanitarian brand. They are good copy because they don't add up. There are more holes in them than in a sieve. They are too almost disreputable to be taken seriously, And that makes them really great copy. You know, when Elizabeth Taylor ran off with Eddie Fisher, that ratcheted up her asking price as a movie queen by several 100,000. Then when she ran off with Richard Burton, it ratcheted it up even more. Yes, the Vatican condemned her. Yes, she was not regarded as respectable, but she was regarded as newsworthy. So that is why Meghan and Harry are there. And I am going to offend some of you, because I'm going to say that I thought Meghan and Harry looked very nice in the pictures. For once, his suits fit. For once, he doesn't look as if he's just been taken for a dry around the tumble dryer and he's come down, sort of come out with his hair uncombed and very unkempt. And she, I thought, looked as good as she can look. So I actually thought that the photographs were well done. Of course, I am here to tell you that when you do a major thing, and I now speak from experience, they pile in the makeup artists, the stylists, the hairdressers, the manicurists, the pedicurists, who knows, any other sort of curist as well. If it's what's going to keep people happy and make for a good story. So, and yes, she is very much in front of him, but then of course she would be in front of him. She's the important person. He's not important. She's a proud, confident, mixed race woman who has been a huge Hollywood star and is now a great humanitarian, teaching everybody about compassion. She's got to teach all of us about compassion. Nikki, ring Thomas Markle and tell him I want to know Meghan's definition of compassion. Please, go on. Get him on the phone for your mots. Go on. Good girl. While Nikki's getting Thomas Markle on the phone, I'll continue. Of course, Harry's in the background looking meek and inferior and submissive. Harry is a submissive, but he's a submissive who thinks he's a dominator because he's always ranting and raving, and she allows him to rant and rave, and then knows how to divert the lava from the volcano so it will end up going through the gold fields of Hollywood to hopefully make her money. Many people unkindly say, so that she has a huge nest egg for when she's ready to dump him. I think that's very unworthy of people to even consider that as a possibility. Don't you agree? Samantha Inger says, just seen that Harry and Meghan are on the front of Time magazine being identified as significantly influential over the last year. A few have said Harry looks as if he's cowering in the background. Meghan is in front as usual. One said, see the madness in her eyes. And you can certainly see the brightness. Right, you know, and she's very good at projecting all sorts of stares that are the specialty of a certain type of person with a certain type of personality disorder. They say the eyes are the mirror of the soul. Yes, she is in front, as I said, and yes, they are, if Time magazine is to be believed, right up there with Nicki Minaj, or Nicki Minaj, I think is her name, sorry, not Mirage, Minaj. Right up there with Nicki Minaj and all sorts of other deeply influential people that are never asked any decent dinner table. Let's put it like that. Because I'll tell you something, where the real elite functions is behind closed doors, and where a lot of important business takes place is over the dinner table, or before dinner, or after dinner, or as you're walking through someone's fields on a Sunday after brunch, that sort of thing. But this, of course, is a world that these people have no knowledge of, no experience of. And the few who are a part of the media who do know about this keep it a deep and dark secret. And also, media personalities are usually suspect in scenarios such as I have just described. Vivica Benoit says, just seen the front page of Time magazine. She completely made his birthday about her. Him in black, evil, dark, her in white, pure the angel. Of course, my dear, she is celestial, absolutely celestial. Mix, come on, do Marty a favour. Go get the holy water, you know, the holy water that Meghan and Harry are going to be selling from their tap. Meghan and Harry's water, otherwise known as Meghan's holy water, IV. The symbolism is hilarious. Yes, it is. Him lowering himself by sitting leaning on a low wall to her level. Well, men normally would do that, in fairness to them. Future president material? Oh, absolutely, right there. You know, she said if Trump could do it, so could she. Well, and others say if Biden and Kamala Harris have done it, so can she. Let's wait and see. Him the total support, royal and prince behind her. Future president material in her mind anyway. Yes, her greatness is so apparent. What do you think, Lady C? In my opinion, her self-belief and delusional narcissism are unparalleled. I have never seen such a blatant use of another person for someone's own personal gain. As you say, you couldn't make it up. Unbelievable. What do I think? I think yes, I think it's flagrant. I think the message is there loud and clear for those who want to see it. I think she gets a certain amount of license because she is a woman and she plays upon being a woman very adeptly. I think where other royal wives will know their place, which is beside their husbands, she doesn't know her place. She regards her place as in front of him, and she regards herself as better than the whole lot of them. I could tell you things that I have been told that she said about the Queen and the other members of the royal family that would make your hair stand on end. But I'm not going to do so because I wouldn't be compromising the people who've told me by repeating it, number one. And number two, I don't envy receiving a writ. And some of this stuff is so damaging that I don't see how even Megsy baby would be able to resist the temptation of a writ. And although I know I would win, I wouldn't want to put these people through the whole business of having to verify what they have said and what she has said to or in front of them. But I can tell you, you're absolutely right. Her delusionalism is right up there with the men in white suits category. And her self-belief is rock solid as her hide. Questa After Truth says, Lady C, what do you make of the royal family's birthday greetings to Prince Harry? Well, as we all know, Prince Harry just had his birthday yesterday, and the royal family, well, some members of the royal family, the ones who the public would expect to wish him a happy birthday, have done so. The Queen, Prince Charles and Camilla, Prince William and Catherine, they've wished him a happy birthday. No surprise there, my dear. Civilized people wish each other happy birthday as long as they are not on total non-speaks. I used to wish my mother happy birthday, even though I didn't speak to her. It's what civilized people do. Nothing unusual about it. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean closeness. And it doesn't mean the Iscariots are now being viewed as members of the Christos clan. Lady C, this is from Cat R. Lady C, what do you think of Has and Jill Biden appearing at the Wounded Warrior Games? As a sister, daughter, granddaughter of veterans, I was horrified and angered at yet another blatant attempt at positive PR. I thought it was shameful. Do you agree? Well, I think that Jill Biden is rewarding Harry and Meghan for having helped to get her husband elected president. In their minds, Harry's more important than he is. And also, if they can spin his importance and make it magnified and can use it to their political advantage, in other words, if they can make a useful tool of the useful idiot for their political gain, they will do so. And to that extent, it's a very clever move. I'm sorry to have to sound so cynical, but you know, we all know politics is a dirty business. And most people who succeed in politics don't do so because their names are Pollyanna and Ken, like in Ken and Barbie. So I thought it was a cynical exercise. I thought it was payback time, in which at least it shows that she has and Joe Biden have some awareness of the debt that they owe to Harry and Meghan. Although, of course, drinking from a poisoned chalice is liable to give you an upset tummy, if not kill you outright. But that's something else again. And Harry is associated with the Invictus Games, which are a worthy cause and which he got the idea for from the Warrior Games. So there is synchronicity as well to all of this. I think had Jill Biden been totally correct, she would have got someone else. And I think that there are many more people injured, family of the deceased, etc., who would have been far more appropriate, but it wouldn't have grabbed the attention of the wokeists, the left-wing papers, the way this has done. There is an agenda here politically that is deeply disturbing to anybody who is a royalist, because royals are not supposed to get involved with politics, whether it is on the right, on the left, or in the centre. Janet Fitzpatrick says, Lady C, what do you think about Jill Biden working with Harry on Invictus? I think after the lies this couple told, it's an insult to our Queen country and is very bad judgment on her part, capital very. Harry broke his pledge to serve his Commander-in-Chief, Her Majesty the Queen. He couldn't even honour UK veterans, preferring to tout his wife for voice-over work for Disney. Also, Harry's involvement with a planned tribute to Prince Philip personally sickens me. He did the interview whilst his grandfather was on his deathbed. Harry is a fake and hypocrite. Well, there are many people who would agree with you on that score, my dear. So I'm not going to argue with you and say that you're not well deserving of voicing your opinion, because you are. I've already said that I think that Jill Biden could have chosen somebody more advisable, and I get your point as to why Harry was such an appalling choice. Yes, Harry is no example of what an army officer or a veteran or a soldier should be doing. His conduct is reprehensible. Yes, he has, in his own way, and with his support for his wife and some of his own actions, dishonoured his grandmother, who is his Commander-in-Chief. There are no two ways about it. But you see, Jill Biden and President Biden are not really very nuanced where certain things are concerned. And of their conduct so far, you could say that one of their lacunae would appear to be the military. Elizabeth Martin says, I cannot believe Jill Biden chose to have a Prince of England appear with her at the Wounded Warrior Games. I think it is insulting to the Americans and the veterans who fought and died for America. Why did she not have one of these vets appear with her? It is disgusting. Do I agree? Yes, I do. I think she should have and could have definitely had one of the veterans, and I think every year they should have one of the veterans, and they should draw lots on who it's going to be. So it's not done on an arbitrary and preferential basis. It's done honestly, fairly, and squarely. And I think it's wildly inappropriate to have a faux hero, somebody who's not only sullied himself, but also been accused by his fellow army people of being really rather a bit of a phony. But we will come to that at some other time. That's one I'm saving for some other time. It is an insult to Americans. It is an insult to all the men who have been injured. It's the wounded games. Why don't we have a wounded warrior for the Wounded Warrior Games. Why do we have hale and hearty and healthy Harry, who's not an American, who was never in danger and could never have been in danger of getting even a scratch because he was kept protected the whole time? I just agree with you. I think it's appalling. Shalini Tyagi says, "Dear Lady C, I love your videos, so very entertaining. Please comment on Has joining Jill Biden. Couldn't Jill Biden find an American who has served in Afghanistan? Jenny Tyagi, India." Well, she could have found somebody who had served in Afghanistan, who wasn't Harry, whose service was evidently cotton-wooled, to put it mildly. But you see, Jill Biden and Joe Biden, like pretty much all politicians and pretty much all successful politicians, do what they think is going to play well for them politically. And sure, the Bidens have taken the view that this is a way of not only enhancing their profile and keeping Harry and Meghan on side, but also currying favour with the British royal family. And if that last point is something that they are factoring into the equation, all I can say is, oopsie doopsie baby, ooh, ooh, ooh. You're going to find out sometimes when you miscalculate, it's not such a good thing. Lonnie Loon says, "Did anyone see that Harry thanked the First Lady for her service, quote unquote? She's not a veteran to my knowledge. Is he thanking her for her service as a First Lady? If so, doesn't that kind of come off as condescending?" Well, of course it does, but you know, Harry is extremely pretentious, especially since he's linked up with Meghan. You know, remember, Meghan is the chief cocked little finger in the cocked finger brigade. And Harry thinks that anything Meghan does, including taking tea with your finger cocking out and being compassionate. Tell that old man called Thomas Markle that I'm not ever going to speak to him and stop leaving those letters here and to stop bothering my adored mother, the adored mother that I didn't see in my life for many years and never appeared at school once for pretty much the whole of Meghan's time at school. Oh dear, oh dear. But Meghan's an authority, as is Harry, on compassion. Marie Burton says, "Lady C, I cannot remember ever disagreeing with you until today. You need to know that there are many of us who have lost respect for Her Majesty. Her tolerance towards the Markles is a slap in the face to her subjects, the same subjects she has and may also in the future call upon to fight for Queen and country. We, the subjects, see that the Markles are perpetrating harm to the crown and want it stopped. The government will use this discontent against her and the royal purse. She is not being advised to her advantage." I'm not sure I 100% agree, because you remember the Queen is wearing more than one hat. Harry is a member of her family. That's why, for instance, he's still listed on the royal family website. As long as he is a member of the family, you do not, if you are correct, ignore the realities. I'll use a small example. Amongst the many pictures I have on various tables is a picture of myself with my ex-husband when we were getting married. I've always had it up. And a journalist once said to me, who was nosing and looking at the pictures, "How is it that you have a picture of your ex-husband up?" I said, "Well, we were married, and I do not believe in rewriting the past." You know, realistic acknowledgement, even of undesirables, is not a reflection of somebody being weak or of somebody being too submissive or of somebody allowing themselves to be taken advantage of. It's just the recognition of a reality. I've always had pictures of my father and mother up as well. Even when I didn't speak to my mother, I had pictures of her up. She was my mother. She will always be my mother. Harry's always going to be the Queen's grandson. There's a reason why, until recently, in the movies, if somebody committed a terrible crime and their family supported them, the family wasn't mocked but was respected. Do I make my point? I hope I have. Deb in the USA says, "Dear Lady C, do you think Has could self-harm? I think that's why the royal family have kept the gloves on." Deb in the USA, absolutely. It's in my book. It's always been the great fear that Harry would possibly end up harming himself. That is why he is treated with kid gloves to an extent and a degree of compassion, although it has to be said that the lines have been drawn rather more firmly recently than he finds comforting, and certainly she finds comforting, because she would love the royal family to roll over and allow her to ravish them and then mock them to the world. And they're not allowing this to happen. So, yes. Flavio Sousa, who is a professional network marketing person, says, question, "Dear Lady C, I love your videos and I loved your book, Meghan and Harry, The Real Story. Thank you. It was a great read. Thanks. And you were one of the first biographers to mention the alleged bullying of the royal staff." I think I was the first biographer, my dear. I hate to push myself forward, but I don't think anybody mentioned it before me. And I don't think anybody mentioned much of what I mentioned in my book until I mentioned it. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but let's give credit where it's due. It seems, however, that the Amazon webpage is flooded with negative reviews of your book. Nothing new there. These reviews seem very suspicious. They are all very similar in content and come from unverified users. Are you being harassed by Meghan's followers? Very well observed. They have stalked me from the word go. They are the ones who posted the negative reviews. I believe in freedom of the press, and I'm not going to get any of this rubbish taken down. If people are so blind that they cannot see what's in front of them, what can I tell you? They're deprived of the sight of beauty and truth, because truth is beauty. Meghan and Harry's people played many dirty games and still play dirty games. I know some of the people. I can recognize who some of the people are. Does it bother me? You know, as I used to say to my father, any insult from you, my dear man, is a compliment. I used to say that to Daddy when I was growing up and we were at a daggers drawn. It's a matter of total indifference to me. I couldn't care less. And I'm not trying to control the world. And I'm not trying to control all the nonsense. I leave that up to the Meghans and Harrys of this world. Let them micromanage everything. I think the truth will prevail. Lies will also be around. It's life. Doesn't bother me. Laurie Rowland says, if Prince Charles is giving his time and his charities benefit and not private citizens, why would that be a bad thing? If Charles were personally benefiting or his assistant were personally benefiting and not the charities, like a certain other group of people we know, then I might be upset. She can't see the problem, and nor can I, as long as the people associated with Prince Charles do not personally benefit. Now, personal benefit, I have to tell you, does not extend beyond Prince Charles's staff and the people who are paid by his charity to run his charity. If he is linked up to any other charity that has people who are professionals, they are also deemed acceptable to benefit. I will use an example. When I used to do charity work, a lot of money was made off the program. The program was filled with advertising from various companies. There was in those days, I mean, I'm speaking about 30 and 40 years ago now, they don't exist anymore. There was a company called Sloan Advertising. I used to use them. They got 50% of anything they raised. But I took the view, if they got us 50% more than I and my committee members could get us, that was 50% more for the cause. Were they benefiting personally? Yes, this was their job. This was their profession. People can't have it both ways. They can't, on the one hand, expect private people and private companies to give to charity and not expect people to benefit personally. I'm speaking about the professionals who run the fundraising companies. If they didn't do it, the state would have to do it. And I'm here to tell you, I know from personal experience, the state always costs more. So, next one. James Ziadie-Campbell says, I hope I got that name right. It's a very, very unusual name. What's corrupt about getting your name on a brass plaque at a hospital after giving a generous donation? It's the same thing as giving to the Prince of Wales's charities. Yes, it is, and there's nothing wrong with either. Nothing wrong at all. But I will read the next one because some of these questions and comments provide very invaluable answers, and I want them not only to come from me, but to come from other people as well, to show the support that exists for the Prince of Wales. Yockney58 says, thank you for being the only commentator who addresses the ongoing witch hunt regarding the Saudi businessman's donations to the Prince of Wales's charitable endeavours. I feel vindicated that my opinion about this has been supported by yours. I expressed this opinion elsewhere, that I see nothing new at all in anybody donating millions to charity being rewarded in some way. And I got slammed by the chip on the shoulder brigade. I love that one. Yeah, they are. I mean, the number of people with chips on their shoulders, my gosh, you know. Amazing, isn't it? To continue the question, I replied that wealthy people are not necessarily crooked criminals. Why is it a worthy deed for other celebrities, sports stars, footballers, entertainers, actors, or rock, pop stars and entrepreneurs who donate, but this man who has chosen to give to the Prince's good cause has been singled out as being unethical? If this man had been some playboy pal of the Prince of Wales and had been honoured, then it would have been wrong. But this is not the case. He has given millions to benefit others. Why should he not be recognised and rewarded? This witch hunt stinks of hypocrisy and unfairness. Well, very well said. Witch hunts always stink, and usually of hypocrisy and unfairness. It stinks. It stinks to high heaven. Gmail VPhone says, I now understand the Sun newspaper's stance on the royals. Rupert Murdoch's ancestor was an Australian journalist covering the Gallipoli campaign. That's during the First World War, incidentally, to those of you who don't know it. And he went against British protocol to print what he liked without any consultation, doing untold damage, incidentally, to the campaign. The arrogance is there for all to see. Murdoch is strongly disliked by many here in Australia because he is seen to interfere and meddle in affairs of state via his media outlets. Thank you, Lady C, and keep up the good work. My pleasure. We have countless other comments from people about the fact that Murdoch interferes in American affairs and causes problems where none should exist. The fact of the matter is, most newspaper barons, unless they have a total hands-off policy, usually end up being influence peddlers and creators of the news as opposed to reporters of the news. My sister-in-law's grandfather, Lord Beaverbrook, was one. The Rothermeres, I knew the late Lord Rothermere rather well, lovely man. I knew his first wife. I've had the pleasure of meeting his second wife. He was very hands-off, as indeed is his son. But that doesn't alter the fact that associated newspapers also have an agenda that they push, and sometimes rather unfairly. I would like to see the supposedly good old days return, if indeed they ever existed, when newspapers were respected and spoke the truth, and they actually went some way towards informing the public about what was really happening, and did it in as impartial a way as possible. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I'll tell you, I've been offered once or twice columns. Peter Mackay, when he was nominated editor of Today newspaper, offered me a column. Nothing came of it. He actually, I think, didn't even become editor of Today newspaper. One or two other people have suggested over the years that, oh, you'd be great doing a column. They quickly realised I'd be a disaster doing a column because I'm too impartial. I'm not taking the party line. I'm going where the truth leads me. Rupert Murdoch is an influence peddler. He tries to influence the news, and he sometimes does it very mischievously and to the detriment of the good of the society. More than that, I do not wish to say. I think I've said quite enough. Thank you very much for listening. Has this been of interest to you? If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please keep the questions coming in. As I keep on saying, this couldn't be done without your questions and your input. Thanks and goodbye.